Today, I want to share a story that's bound to leave you in disbelief. Amelia Lang, a lawyer from Boulder, had a brush with death that transformed her perspective and brought forth an urgent message about what's looming in October 2024. Stick around until the end to hear about her remarkable journey. And before we dive in, drop a comment to let us know where you're tuning in from. Oh, and remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our amazing tales. Hey there, I'm Amelia. Honestly, I never thought I'd find myself recounting such an intimate and frankly unbelievable experience. But after what I've been through, it feels essential to share it with you. You know that feeling when something so profound happens that you just can't keep it locked inside? That's exactly where I'm at right now. Let me give you a bit of background. I'm just an ordinary woman in my 30s living in Boulder. I've always leaned towards being the quiet type, the one who enjoys curling up with a good book or hanging out in small circles rather than seeking the limelight or grand adventures. My life has been pretty standard. I work as an accountant at a local firm, juggling my routine with my various hobbies. Ice skating is one of my favorites. I've enjoyed it since childhood and have always felt a certain comfort gliding on the ice. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't much of a believer in the supernatural. I found myself skeptical of tales about seeing bright lights or encountering deceased loved ones. To me, they always felt like little more than tricks of the mind. But that all shifted one chilly Saturday afternoon in January. I was out on the ice, doing what I loved best with my friends Madison and Lillian, who I've known since our college days. They're like family to me, and we had this wonderful tradition of skating together nearly every weekend. It was our chance to unwind, share a few laughs, and momentarily forget about the stresses of the week. The weather was frigid, typical for January in Boulder, but I felt it was the ideal day to be out on the rink. If only someone had told me earlier that morning that my life would take a startling turn within hours, I would have probably just chuckled at the thought. It's amusing how life can surprise us, isn't it? We never truly know what unexpected twists await, especially during an innocent lap around the ice. The events of that day and everything that followed made me rethink everything I had held true about existence, mortality, and what might lie beyond. The impact it had on me was profound, far beyond what I could have anticipated, and that's what I want to talk about now. I'm not here to change anyone's mind or make a point, but I think sharing this is important. Maybe someone out there needs to hear it, just as I needed to live through it. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'll do my best to explain it all clearly, even if parts seem hard to accept. Just keep an open heart, because sometimes the most astonishing experiences challenge our understanding of reality. What happened that day completely shifted my perspective on the world. Let me take you back to that chilly Saturday in January. It felt like any regular winter day in Boulder. I had planned to catch up with Madison and Lillian at our usual ice skating rink, a delightful routine we looked forward to each weekend to unwind after a hectic week. I got to the rink a bit ahead of them, and the air was filled with the familiar scent of the cold ice mingling with the sweet smell of hot chocolate wafting from the cafeteria. I laced up my skates, my trusted pair that I felt almost lucky to have. Soon enough, the girls joined me, and we hit the ice with joy, chatting and joking about the week's events. It was one of those magical days when the surface of the ice was flawless, shining just like a mirror. I felt completely at ease, gliding around with a confidence that comes from years of practice. It's a special feeling, almost instinctual, when you've done something for so long. After about 40 minutes of skating, Madison shared a funny story about her new coworker that had us all in stitches. I was laughing so hard I barely noticed anything else until, out of nowhere, disaster struck. My skate caught on a rough patch of ice, probably an area that had been worn down by someone's careless skating. One moment I was moving gracefully, and the next it all went wrong. My balance gave way, and I had this terrifying instant to think, "Oh no, I'm going to fall." Before I could process it, I was crashing backward, and the force of the impact was severe. My head hit the ice hard, and it was brutal. The moment I hit the ice, an overwhelming sensation flooded through me, a jarring pain I can hardly put into words. It was so intense that I felt like I was seeing stars. For a brief instant, everything faded into darkness. In that void, distant cries reached my ears. I think it was Amelia and Lillian desperately calling my name. They sounded miles away, though. My last coherent thought was puzzling over why everything had become so hushed, and then silence enveloped me. Now, let me tell you about what followed. This part is a challenge to explain, and it forever altered my life. One second, I was there, writhing in pain on that ice. The next moment, I found myself in another realm entirely. This wasn't the fluffy paradise we often see depicted in movies, the fluffy clouds and harp-playing angels. No, it was something beyond that, something much more profound. But before diving deeper into that experience, I need to share something essential. I was clinically dead for 8 minutes. Yes, 8 minutes. Later, doctors referred to my survival as miraculous, with no lingering effects. Yet during those minutes, what felt like an eternity unfolded for me. And let me be clear, if this sounds absurd, I completely get it. I would have doubted such a tale had I not lived it myself. But now, I'm convinced that there's so much more to existence than we usually perceive, and I caught a glimpse of that. Now, how does one convey something that transcends our understanding? After everything went black, I thought I'd feel afraid, maybe even panicked. But surprisingly, there was none of that. Instead, an incredible lightness overtook me, as if all of life's burdens had vanished. I opened my eyes, but not in the way you might think. It was as if I was observing everything from above, floating over my own body. There I was, lying on the ice while Amelia and Lillian shouted for assistance, and bystanders were in a frenzy. It was surreal, like being the star of a dramatic film. Oddly enough, I felt no fear. In fact, I was enveloped in a tranquility I had never known before. It was as if every single worry I'd ever carried melted away. I wanted to assure my friends that I was okay, to tell them not to worry, but no words emerged. That realization hit me hard. I wasn't present in the way I once had been. It felt like I was in a state of pure awareness, as if I had no body, no voice, just this deep understanding of everything around me. The hustle and bustle of the skating rink began to fade away. The sounds receded, almost like someone was gradually lowering the volume on a television. The harsh fluorescent lights overhead dimmed, yielding to a more vibrant, warm glow. Suddenly, I wasn't on the ice anymore. I found myself standing in a vast, lush green field. The sun was shining gently. It was that perfect kind of light that didn't sting the eyes, but rather embraced you happily. And somehow, I had feet again. Not quite like we think of them, but I could feel the grass underfoot. Breathing was an exhilarating experience there, as if I were inhaling pure energy. Each breath filled me with an effervescent vitality unlike anything I had ever felt on Earth. The colors were so vivid, sharper than anything I had seen before. The way an HD photo stands out, but 1,000 times more electrifying. In the distance, mountains shimmered with their own inner light. Above, the sky was an infinite deep blue. The remarkable part? I could feel it all, not just experiencing it visually or audibly, but feeling it deeply within my core. The flowers surrounding me released fragrances that were strangely familiar yet new, evoking joyful memories. My grandmother's perfume, the scent of cake baking at home, the smell of fresh books. These aromas intertwined into something indescribably beautiful. I felt more than content. I felt completely integrated into this space, as if every part of me resonated with it. It had that odd sense of déjà vu, but amplified 1,000-fold. In that moment, it dawned on me that this wasn't just a trick of the mind. This was genuine, more real than anything I had ever known. An inner voice urged me to explore further, to understand the mysteries of this place. And just as I thought this, I sensed a presence beside me. I couldn't see it clearly, but there was warmth and love in its aura. That realization struck me. My journey was only beginning. What came next was a profound experience, one that truly transformed my understanding of everything. Though articulating it is a challenge, I feel compelled to try. As I took a moment to soak in all the beauty around me, my gaze was suddenly drawn to something shimmering in the distance. It looked like a curtain made entirely of light, but not just any light. Imagine countless tiny twinkling dots swirling and dancing into this magnificent display. I felt an unshakable urge to reach out and touch it, as if a part of me knew there was something significant waiting to be discovered. When I stepped closer and touched one of those glowing points, it was like I got whisked away into a film. But it wasn't just a viewing experience. Out of nowhere, I found myself transported back to being a 7-year-old girl, nervously trying to ride a bike for the first time. I could feel the cool wind rushing past my face and the anxiety of possibly falling. But there was also something exhilarating about mastering my balance. What struck me, though, was that I wasn't alone in this moment. I could sense my father's emotions right alongside my own. I felt his pride and affection, tinged with a hint of worry. It was as if I was both myself and my father at that instant, deeply connected in a way that made me realize how precious that memory was for him. He was so happy to share that moment, yet worried about how quickly I was growing up. As this memory faded and I found myself back in that bright field, I started to understand that each point of light represented a memory, not just my own, but the memories that included everyone who's ever been part of my life. I reached out again to touch another light, and poof, I was suddenly thrown into a scene from my teenage years. I was there, comforting a friend who had just gone through a breakup. Back then, I recall feeling utterly clueless, thinking my words weren't much help. But now, reliving it, I felt the weight of my presence on her, how my presence truly mattered, and how my simple words became a source of solace and hope. Realization hit me like a comet. Every small act of kindness and every little connection with people had a ripple effect far beyond what I could have imagined. I remembered forgotten moments, a shared smile with a stranger, a gentle word for the cashier at the grocery store. Each of those seemingly insignificant gestures had real power in how they impacted the lives of others. As I continued to explore these luminous memories, I felt a presence beside me. When I turned, it was hard to describe what I saw, or rather, what I felt. It was a being composed purely of light, without any human form. It was more like an intense, concentrated energy. There was something indescribably loving and wise about this light, a feeling that transcended just sight. Without uttering a single word, the being of light conveyed everything he wished to share. It felt as if he was beckoning me, silently inviting me on a journey filled with discovery. And just like that, we embarked on a remarkable adventure. Floating, or was it flying? We traversed landscapes that felt like they were plucked straight from a dream. Fields of flowers stretched endlessly in every direction, their colors so bright and vivid that they almost overwhelmed my senses. We glided over expansive forests, where each tree seemed to radiate its own unique energy. In an instant, we found ourselves soaring above a truly extraordinary ocean. This was no ordinary body of water. It twinkled as though countless stars were playing beneath the surface. As I gazed deeper, I realized those stars were actually lives, individual consciousnesses. It was an awe-inspiring moment, as I felt the souls of every creature beneath the waves connect with me during this incredible journey. I soon understood that this wasn't just an experience of awe-inspiring beauty. I was intertwined with everything around me, the flowers, the trees, the very water. It struck me how each thought, action, and emotion was all part of a massive, interconnected web of existence. How had I lived so long without seeing this truth? In that moment, the being of light seemed to hint at a profound lesson. On Earth, we often forget our connection to one another, yet it remains a constant presence in our lives. At one point, we paused atop what resembled a mountain summit. From this vantage point, I gazed into the vastness of the universe, with stars, galaxies, and planets sprawling before me, so near and yet immeasurable. It was here that the being of light transformed my understanding of life and death. He revealed that death, as we perceive it, isn't an end but a transition. Our souls, or whatever terms we choose to use, continue to exist beyond our physical forms. The most astonishing part was grasping that time, in the way we know it, ceases to exist. Past, present, and future unfolded simultaneously before me, not in a linear fashion, but like a breathtaking tapestry woven from the very fabric of the cosmos. The moment felt like a beautiful web, where each thread connected to another in an intricate design. You know what struck me the most? It was love. I know it sounds like a worn-out expression, but in that instant, I realized love isn't merely an emotion. It's a force that binds everything together. It adds depth and meaning amidst the vastness of existence. As I took in the scene, I experienced a profound sense of peace. It was so complete, so overwhelming that it's hard to describe. All my worries and fears seemed to fade away, losing relevance. I felt like a part of something so grand and breathtaking that it bordered on painful. The radiant being of light beside me revealed a truth. Every life and experience we encounter has significance. It's not about a scripted fate. It's more about opportunities for growth, learning, and forging connections. I remember thinking, how am I going to capture all this when I return? How will I convey it to others? Somehow, the luminous being helped me grasp that it wasn't crucial to remember every single detail. What mattered was to embrace the essence of what had been revealed to me. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to remain there forever, immersed in that tranquility and insight. Yet, a part of me understood that my journey on Earth was not finished. I still had more to experience. Then, out of the blue, something unexpected occurred. It was like a gentle nudge reminding me that my path was still unfolding. While I was still lost in the profound lessons shared with me, the surrounding scenery began to shift. The vast universe I had been observing seemed to break apart into tiny flecks of light. At that point, I felt a presence before me. It wasn't just seeing, it was something far deeper. An angel materialized, and let me tell you, it was nothing like the angels painted in art, with their white wings and harps. This angel radiated an energy so bright and intense that it almost hurt to gaze directly at it. This being exuded a distinct urgency, unlike the calmness of the light that had guided me until then. Without uttering a word, it began to convey a message, and honestly, that was the most surreal part of my entire experience. The angel presented me with glimpses of the future. These weren't clear images, but more like flashes of emotion and impression. I understood that something significant was about to unfold on Earth, something that could alter the course of humanity. Those moments and dates were etched in my mind like a vivid dream. From October 29th to 31st, 2024, something extraordinary happened. An angel appeared to me, but it wasn't a typical revelation. Instead of showing me specific events, I felt this overwhelming sense of what those days would mean for everyone on Earth. It wasn't a frightening realization like a catastrophe. It was more like an epiphany, a call for humanity to rise to a new level of awareness. The angel emphasized the importance of being ready, but not in a physical way. It was about preparing ourselves emotionally and spiritually. I could sense that these days were going to symbolize the dawn of a new era, a time where we would become more conscious and more connected, both to the universe and to one another. However, the transformation wouldn't be easy for everyone. Many would struggle, feeling disoriented and afraid of the changes ahead. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had a part to play, though it wasn't as a leader or a prophet, nothing that grand, really. My own experiences at that moment, the challenges I faced, could somehow help others navigate this impending shift. But doubt crept in. How could I convince anyone of something I barely understood myself? Yet, the angel instilled a sense of calm in me. It was as if he was reassuring me that in due time, I would have clarity on what to say and do. It became clear that the shift wouldn't occur overnight. Those days in October were just the starting point of a much more extensive transformation that would unfold over the years. Humanity was on the brink of rethinking how we perceive the world, how we relate to one another, and to our planet. I have to admit, I felt a bit overwhelmed. The weight of it all was daunting. But alongside that fear, there was this spark of hope, a strong belief that, despite the tribulations ahead, we were destined for something beautiful. As the angel faded from sight, he left me with a profound message. It wasn't conveyed in words, but through a powerful feeling about love being the cornerstone of our journey through this transition. The more everyone could tap into genuine love, not just the romantic kind, but a universal love for life, nature, and everything that exists, the smoother the journey would be. Just like that, he vanished, leaving me there, suspended in what felt like an infinite void, grappling with the depth of what I had just experienced. My mind raced, trying to absorb everything. As I floated in that astonishing place filled with light, I experienced a profound sense of calm that I'd never felt before. But then, something unexpected stirred within me. It was a nagging restlessness, like a gentle reminder that my time there was coming to a close. I could feel a strong pull, a force gently urging me back to my earthly self. Despite the peace surrounding me, a small part of me wanted to resist, to linger in that serene realm of understanding. Yet, somewhere deep inside, I knew it was too soon for me to stay. Gradually, the blinding light and sense of vastness began to fade, and I felt a warm, loving presence guiding me just before everything dulled into darkness. What came next was a shocking transition. One moment, I was enveloped in that heavenly light, and the next, I was thrust into a dark tunnel, hurtling forward at a dizzying speed. The first sensation was an overwhelming chill that dashed through every inch of me, quickly followed by searing pain. It was almost unbearable, almost as if every nerve in my body had ignited in a symphony of agony. My head was pounding in a way I couldn't comprehend. After what felt like an eternity, I managed to pry my eyes open, only to be greeted by a blinding glare. I found myself back at the skating rink, lying on the ice. A crowd had gathered around me, their faces etched with concern, but I could only catch glimpses of their worried expressions. It was like trying to listen to a distant radio playing underwater. I heard snippets of voices calling out, urging me to stay awake. "Emilia, can you hear me?" I recognized Madison's worried tone amid the chaos. I wanted to reassure her. There was so much I wanted to share about the extraordinary experiences I had just been through. But my lips betrayed me, and all that emerged was a faint, pitiful groan. Gradually, the world came into better focus. I saw paramedics rushing toward me, their hands busy checking my vitals. Medical jargon floated around me, terms like cardiac arrest, successful resuscitation, and possible head trauma. As they lifted me onto a stretcher, a flurry of thoughts swirled in my mind. How long had I been out? It felt like a lifetime. All those breathtaking moments I had just experienced. How could they have occurred in such a brief span? On the ambulance ride to the hospital, I slipped in and out of consciousness. Every time my eyes fluttered shut, vivid flashes rushed back. Images of the lush green field, the radiant being who guided me, the angelic figure, and all those tantalizing visions of the future. Were they real, or was it just my mind creating wild illusions in the aftermath of my fall? As we arrived at the hospital, I was quickly wheeled into the emergency room, where more chaos awaited. It was a whirlwind of tests and questions from doctors. I felt this overwhelming urge to share what I went through, but deep down, I hesitated. I suspected they might think I was out of touch, lost in the aftermath of my accident. Hours later, once I found myself alone in that hospital room, it hit me. I had to process what the doctor had revealed. I had been clinically dead for 8 minutes. 8 minutes. How could I have experienced so much in such a brief span of time? As I spent the next few days recovering, I desperately wanted to talk to Madison and Lillian about what I had gone through. Each time I attempted to share, I noticed their worried expressions. They believed my confusion stemmed from my concussion, the kind of thing that leads to bizarre dreams after a trauma. Madison tried to reassure me, saying I'd come to see it was just my mind playing tricks once I felt better. But I was certain that what I experienced was far more significant than a mere dream. The peace I felt, the profound understanding of everything, and the message I received about the upcoming events, they were etched into my very being in a way that I couldn't articulate. A few weeks later, when I finally walked out of that hospital, I was a changed person. Yes, there was a scar on my head, a constant reminder of what had happened, but the real transformation was within me. My perspective on life and death had shifted entirely. The anxiety that used to plague me about death was gone, replaced by a comforting realization. Death isn't the end. It's merely a transition, a doorway leading to something grander and more beautiful than we often envision. Yet along with that sense of peace came a heavy weight of responsibility. The angel's warning about future events loomed over me, and I found myself grappling with a daunting task. How could I prepare others for something I didn't fully grasp? That question haunted me in the months ahead as I tried to settle back into my routine. I sensed I was on a mission, but the details eluded me. Returning to life after that life-altering afternoon of ice skating was a struggle. The first few days at home felt surreal. Everything was familiar, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all different. More so, I was different. The worries and stresses of work, even the little daily annoyances, had lost their significance. As I walked through the bustling market, I couldn't help but notice people around me. Each one made me think, if only they grasped what I now understood. My family and friends had their concerns, naturally. They assumed I was struggling, maybe even traumatized from the accident. My mom was constantly checking in, worried about whether I was eating properly or needed anything else. Madison and Lillian would drop by out of the blue, as if they were on a mission to ensure I hadn't completely lost my mind. I appreciated their worry, but it was so frustrating not being able to express what I was truly feeling. Whenever I attempted to share my thoughts, I could see the pity in their eyes, the poor thing must still be rattled look. Work wasn't the same either. I used to be laser-focused, racing against deadlines and priorities. Now I often found myself staring out the window, lost in thoughts about the vastness of the universe. The numbers in my spreadsheet felt trivial compared to everything I had witnessed. My boss finally pulled me aside, expressing concern about my performance. I assured him it was just a transition period and that I'd soon return to my old self. But honestly, I didn't want to. Returning to that routine felt impossible after everything I'd experienced. Nights were particularly tough. Lying in bed, I replayed every detail of my experience. The vibrant green field, the luminous being, revisiting the memories, and the angel's warning. Everything felt so incredibly vivid, yet so distant from my everyday reality. And those ominous dates, October 29 to 31st, 2024, haunted me. I caught myself marking off the days, wondering about the looming future. What would happen? How could I possibly prepare? Who would even listen if I tried to warn them? In search of answers, I dove into literature on near-death experiences. I read books, stumbled upon scientific studies, and sifted through accounts from others who had similar brushes with the other side. It was comforting to know that I wasn't alone. Others had traveled this strange path. Yet, none spoke of a specific future warning like the one I had received. I turned to meditation in hopes of reconnecting with the serene understanding I felt during my experience. Occasionally, I could tap into that sensation, but it never matched the profound intensity of that day. As the months went by, I gradually found a new equilibrium. I was no longer the Amelia I used to be. That was obvious. But I also wasn't someone entirely different. It felt as though I was walking a fine line between my past self and a new version of me. When I look back, it's clear I've seen things differently lately. Life has taken on this richer texture, a simple sunset, the warm smile of someone passing by, or the aroma of freshly brewed coffee in the morning. All these moments now feel infused with significance. I began to realize that every fleeting instant, no matter how small, is woven into a larger tapestry of life. Additionally, my interactions with others have shifted as well. I find myself more patient and open-hearted, recognizing that each person I encounter is navigating their own unique journey. This newfound awareness has helped me cultivate a deeper sense of empathy, making it easier to connect with those around me. It didn't take long for my friends and family to pick up on these changes. Instead of seeing concern in their eyes, they looked at me with genuine curiosity. "You seem different," Lillian, my sister, remarked one day. "You appear to be at peace." That comment struck a chord with me. In that moment, I understood that my silent reflections on my experiences didn't require grand declarations. Living by the lessons I had learned might be the best way to offer support and understanding for the shifts ahead. Even though I still carried the weight of that warning regarding October 2024, I grew to appreciate that my purpose wasn't to foretell doom. Rather, I aimed to be a light, a source of hope amid uncertainty and change. Day after day, I embraced this new way of living, open to learning more and evolving. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that life, and whatever follows, holds far more beauty and complexity than we could ever fathom. As the weeks passed and October 2024 crept closer, I sensed an urgency growing within me. It wasn't merely anxiety over the future, it was a heartfelt call to action. I wanted to prepare myself and those around me. To start, I sought a balance between safeguarding my experiences and reaching out to others. I began with small gestures, offering a smile here, a kind word there, Simple acts of kindness that I've come to understand can make a world of difference. This passion led me to get more involved in community service, dedicating some weekends to volunteer work. It felt good to contribute, and it reassured me that even in challenging times, we can all play a part in spreading a little light. Seeing the difference small acts of kindness could make in people's lives at the local shelter hit me hard. It reminded me of that profound sense of connectivity I felt during my near-death experience while working. Out of the blue, I surprised my colleagues by asking to spearhead a social responsibility initiative. This was quite a shift from my usual reputation as a numbers-driven person. My boss, taken aback but pleasantly surprised, jumped on board and backed my new direction. To regain that feeling of peace and understanding, I started a daily meditation practice. It wasn't the same as during my experience, but it kept me grounded and focused on what truly mattered. As October 2024 drew nearer, I began noticing an increasing number of people searching for something more meaningful in their lives. There was this undercurrent of restlessness, as if everyone sensed that change was on the horizon. It made me wonder if perhaps others were also tuning into the idea that transformation was coming. Feeling inspired, I kicked off a casual discussion group. It wasn't anything overly formal, just a few friends and acquaintances gathering weekly to chat about spirituality and life's purpose. I didn't delve into my own experience at first, but I used my insights to guide our conversations. I was taken aback by how receptive everyone was. They welcomed this kind of dialogue with enthusiasm. As the days drew closer to October, I ramped up my efforts. I organized a weekend retreat for my small group, where we dove into themes like connection, compassion, and emotional resilience. I tiptoed around specific predictions, but I tried my best to prepare everyone for the potential changes ahead. At the same time, I began to jot down my thoughts in a diary, not a published work, just a personal record of everything I recalled from my experience and how it shaped my life. I figured if anything monumental took place, it could serve as a useful reminder for someone down the line. By the time October 29th to 31st approached, I found myself feeling a bit anxious. A part of me questioned whether it had all been just a figment of my imagination triggered by trauma. What if nothing transpired? What if I had misinterpreted everything? However, there was another part, one that felt that deeper connection to the universe, that understood something significant was indeed on the way. It might not be earth-shattering, but I sensed these days would carry important changes. So the week prior to those dates, I took a few days off work to reflect and prepare. I decided it was time to take a break from everything and just focus on myself for a while. So I booked a cozy little cabin nestled in the mountains, not too far from Boulder. It's a quiet spot, perfect for some meditation and reflection. You know, a place where I could also lend a hand if I was needed. As the night of the 18th rolled in, I found myself on the cabin's porch, gazing up at the clear, star-filled sky. It was a surprisingly calm moment. No matter what was about to unfold in the coming days, I felt a sense of peace. I had done everything I could to prepare myself and help those around me. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes, reconnecting with the world around me. Whatever lay ahead, I was ready for it. Sitting there, I couldn't help but wonder if I was truly prepared for what was coming. It's kind of amusing, isn't it? After all those experiences and all the planning, I still felt a bit like that girl, Amelia, who was about to slip on the ice, caught between anxiety and a spark of excitement. Thinking back on everything since that brush with death, it's hard to grasp how far we've come. There were times I questioned everything, moments where I thought I might have dreamed it all. But now, as I sit in this mountain retreat with October 29th, 2024, just around the corner, a sense of certainty washes over me. Something significant is on the horizon. I can't say for sure what it will be. The angel I encountered didn't provide specifics, just a strong sense that change was coming. Could this be a grand event that everyone witnesses, or would it be a more subtle shift in our collective understanding? Part of me is itching to turn on the TV, to stay glued to the internet and soak up every breaking news update. But then there's another part of me, the one that experienced something beyond this life, that knows it's essential to remain grounded and connected to something larger than the fleeting stories of the day. So here I am, taking the time to meditate and reflect as I prepare for whatever might come. I think about all the incredible individuals I've met over these past months in my discussions at the shelter with the volunteers. I truly hope that our conversations and the work we've done together have helped you get ready for what lies ahead. I recall the insights from the being of light, how everything is interconnected. Perhaps we'll experience this truth on a grander scale soon. There's a sense that we're on the brink of an awakening, a moment when we, as a species, will finally grasp how interconnected we truly are. I won't lie, sometimes that little voice of fear creeps in. What if it's disastrous? What if I've completely misunderstood everything? But then I pause, take a deep breath, and hold on to the memories of that peace and love I once felt. Whatever lies ahead isn't random. It's woven into a larger tapestry, something beautiful and significant. As dawn breaks over Boulder on October 29th, I find myself flooded with mixed emotions. Sure, there's anxiety, but there's something else too, hope. Hope that we are on the cusp of a pivotal change, one that could lead to a deeper sense of compassion, connection, and awareness about our place in the cosmos. The next few days are a mystery. I can't tell if I'll see ethereal beings drifting down from above, or if I'll be a witness to a dramatic shift in how we understand reality. But what matters is that I'm fully present, arms wide open, ready for whatever comes my way. I also want to be a guiding light for others as we navigate these uncharted waters. As I put these concluding thoughts into my journal, a wave of gratitude washes over me. Gratitude for this remarkable journey that has transformed my life, for being given the opportunity to not just prepare myself, but to help others prepare too. I'm thankful to be alive during such a pivotal moment in history. So with an eager heart and an abundance of love, I brace myself for what's to come. No matter what, I know I share this experience with others. We are all on this remarkable journey called life and beyond. The future is approaching, and for the first time, instead of fear, I feel readiness. We are ready, and now it's all about observing, waiting, and most importantly, loving. Because through my journey beyond this life, I learned that love is the most powerful force in the universe. With love in our hearts, we can face whatever awaits us.